the middle of the Great Recession, and my then boyfriend, now husband, and I could not find jobs in New York City. You could really feel how the impact of everything that happened in Wall Street was, hitting every sixth person. And we were fresh graduates, didn't know what to do with our degrees, but there was somehow opportunity in South Carolina, particularly in Charleston. Yeah, and we've been here since. We've fought to stay, and we've fought the urge to leave, and we've built a home and a family here.
My wife and I, we were university teachers in China, and we had our own business, and we had a great life there. And then my daughter was born 2011, and then I looked at myself and I was like, in 40 years, I'm gonna retire as a university professor. And this is pretty much what will happen to my daughter too. She might go to good university, get a PhD degree, and end up being a professor. And life becomes boring to me, and I want her to have more opportunities. So I remember this very clearly. My wife and I, we went out for breakfast. And in China, you have breakfast, you have soup for breakfast. So all of a sudden, my wife asked me, say, maybe we should go to US. I was like, okay, let me finish the soup.
Me leaving, the island of Samoa, and it was like a surprise for my parents. I just wanted to be the one to make a change in our family, and so they did not agree, for me to leave. But then I just had to make that change. And so today I am grateful. With my journey and everything that I've been through in life, I've learned to have an attitude of gratitude. I leave home, I join the military, and I happen to meet, the love of my life, my children's father. We met in '95, but we got married in '97. We have 3 beautiful children, and in 2006, he got into a terrible accident in Balad, Iraq. And when he got into an accident, it was hard for me, because we have 3 beautiful children. I was a full-time mother at the time, and a full-time soldier, and at the same time I was a full-time student.
I think I am very lucky that music has always been such an international and diverse field, that being Singaporean and being Asian in Charleston has been largely okay. I know what I do, and people know what I do, so I don't lose opportunities that way. And I'm also very fortunate that Singapore, our first language is English, so I had no problems coming to the US and networking and meeting people and talking to them. But I would say that, there are things that I don't get, and I still don't get, just by living in Charleston, because even as I teach there, I'm looking, my classmates in college, they all came from a very different background, different education background, especially the non-music students. They would ask me questions that, they just don't know where Singapore is. It's such a small place in the middle of Southeast Asia that most people don't even know where it is. And they would ask me questions that they don't know anything about it, but in a way it could be a little bit insulting. But for the most part, I've been very fortunate to have found a community that welcomed me with a smile and with the traditional, I guess, Southern hospitality.
I know that as a Filipino woman, I was taught and socialized to not speak up, or to go with the flow, and to be mapangkumbaba, or to be kind of always of humble position and humble opinion, and I think that has lent itself to erasure. As a whole, nationally, when we're recognizing that API or Asian American or Asian American Pacific Islander are blanket terms. And they're helpful in some aspects, and the origins of it was to coalesce, many peoples so that we could be stronger. But I think recently we've learned a vocabulary and we've learned the theory behind certain practices that allow us to recognize our many differences, racially, ethnically, linguistically, economically, all these multiplicities of identities. I think recently we've been a lot more vocal about that. We've been a lot more vocal about our need for solidarity amongst each other and other minority groups. And I think that also we're learning to celebrate and highlight and amplify not just our trauma and hurt, but our joy and our gifts and our cultural richness.
I think in the past year it has been really hard with the pandemic, that there has been a lot of Asian hate going on. Personally, I've been yelled at on the road for bringing COVID to the US. I do want to tell that guy that, if I were this amazing and I could bring COVID to the US, I would be doing a lot more important stuff than bringing a virus. In my circle of friends around the US and around Europe and all the other places that are far away from Asia, I have heard a lot of stories about people who get beat up on the road, or they're just being looked down or looked at in disgust. And this has been hard for me because I live in a place that doesn't do that. My circle of friends, even though if they're not Asian, they have been very kind and very helpful and very supportive in both my personal life and my career. So the hard part is just hearing all these news stories and being helpless to stop any of it.
The wake-up call is the rise of the anti-Asian crimes in the States. That make me feel that I cannot be silent anymore. And also another thing I've realized is, when people are complaining, I've been thinking, because I don't like complaints, I want to find a solution. Now, one of the reasons I think behind the rise of the anti-Asian crime is because the Asian community has been very silent. We need to speak out, we need to take actions. And then if we want to do those things, we need the leadership. We need the people who know how to do those things. So that's why some friends and we decide to set up this nonprofit organization called Asian American Advancing Leadership. The goal of all, which we call it all, the goal of all is to foster and develop leadership among the Asian Americans, particularly the young Asian Americans, because they are the future.
Growing up in the Philippines, where we speak more than 150 languages and dialects and inhabit more than 7,000 islands, I grew up with the understanding that each person has many selves, and that's the beginning of diversity.
I don't want people to look at me like I don't belong. Sure, I look different, but we are all neighbors. A better world would be when people don't see color.
We are unique. We have very unique cultures, and that diversity is what America needs. And I think that diversity is what makes America move forward.
Everybody has a voice, everybody has a story, and everybody's story is motivational to someone. Everybody's story will always make a difference in somebody's life. That's why I encourage people to tell your story, and I encourage people to just birth that book out. Everybody has a book in them. Everybody has a story.
I think API people are people with great courage. Like I mentioned to you earlier, a lot of us came to this country by choice, which means you have to give up whatever you have in your home country, cross the ocean to come to a strange land to start a new life. So I think that, at least I did it. It makes me very proud.